What's up guys, Shawnthebro here, and we're back for another episode of the Rollback Netcode in the fighting game tutorial series. So in the previous episodes of Rollback Netcode, we had gone over how we can store our inputs for our netcode system. We already have an input buffer in our fighting game, and that works very well. However, it doesn't meet the needs that we really have for the Rollback Netcode. Actually, it does meet the needs of the system, but it tells the system a lot more than what we actually care about for rollback. And when we are sending data back and forth and storing data, we would prefer if it is as lightweight as possible. So we don't necessarily need to know every single bit of information. We just need to know the basics. That way we can execute a few different things when we roll back. And we've started that process. We've made a simpler, more lightweight version of the inputs so that when the rollback netcode needs to access it, it can pull that data. And it can pull the data of if inputs were pressed, and which direction we're pressing, if it's something like our movement, if jump is pressed. We also went over making sure that our players, or different player controllers, were tracked so that different players could have different input buffers and different character snapshots. So for example, in this case right here, I can control both players, right? I can control the left player and the right player. I'm pressing both their inputs. We don't want their inputs to both be going to the same pool because we need to know which player pressed that input. This needs to be precise. This needs to be deterministic, which means there's no room for doubt. We need to know which player or which character initiated which action or which input. And we set up the initial behavior for that system by tracking those player controllers, but there's more that we have to do with it today to make sure that those player controllers are stored with their corresponding inputs, and that's what we're going to be going over for today's episode. Now, if you want to get caught up in the entire series and check out how we've done things like our different attacks, our launchers, our particle effects, our game modes, and a whole lot more, I'll link you to the entire fighting game tutorial series right here in the top right corner so you can check out how we've done everything to date. Alternatively, if you only care about the rollback netcode episodes in the fighting game tutorial, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to follow along with the whole series to watch these episodes, but I do recommend that you watch the previous episodes of rollback netcode in this series. This is a huge topic and we are continuously building on it as we're working on this game. So if you're familiar with everything else that we've done in this series for rollback netcode, following this episode will be much easier to do. With that out of the way, we can go ahead and get started. This is a code and blueprint tutorial series. Since we're working on our rollback netcode, we are going to be working in the code today. So we need to go to our C++, and specifically we need to go to our base player controller class and our rollback simulation subsystem class. Let's go to the base player controller to start. So baseplayercontroller.cpp, baseplayercontroller.h. Quick recap of what we did recently is we made this fuser input structure in the player controller. And this tracks the states of our inputs like I was mentioning in the intro. So if we go to baseplayercontroller.cpp and scroll down to something like call move right, you'll see that we call move right on the possessed pawn, but additionally we are now tracking the actual directions and really the inputs that we pressed. Then in the rollback simulation subsystem.cpp and rollback simulation subsystem.h, we forward declared that fuser input so that we could put it in some of our structures like our rollback frame data. So our rollback frame data is what is going to be stored 4 frames so that if we need to roll back, we can restore all of that data with previously recorded data, then go to our next updates to keep the game nice and smooth. And you'll see here that we have our T-array of F character snapshots, so everything the character was doing, and we also have this T-array of F user input now to track all the user inputs for each character or for each user. So with this in mind, what we need to do now is fill out the F user inputs in our rollback frame data. Because if you go to the rollback simulation subsystem.cpp, you'll see that we have this function down at the bottom called store snapshot. This is where we're setting the rollback frame buffer data on that frame to whatever data we have in current rollback frame data. But to actually store that input data, we need to retrieve it from the player controller, since the player controller is the one that's actually storing the user input with its variable current user input. This will be updated every frame with new data. So back in rollback simulation subsystem.cpp and .h, we need to make sure that that data is being transferred properly. And that means before we actually try and set this data to store it for our rollback frame buffer, we need to store the inputs. So either in fixed tick, a separate function called before store snapshot, or prior to setting the rollback frame buffer at that frame in store snapshot, we need to store our inputs. I think it makes the most sense to have another function for this. So I'm going to go into rollback simulation subsystem.h and scroll down to my functions. And above store snapshot here, store input states for all users for the current frame. And we'll call this void store inputs. And we can also pass the frame into here in underscore frame. And let's start with this. So store inputs and go back to the CPP file, go above store snapshot, void u rollback simulation subsystem, : store inputs, int frame. In store inputs, we can use our tracked player controllers that we set up in the previous episodes to grab our current user input. So for example, if player 1 is index 0 and player 1 pressed the jump input and we want to store that, what we could do is grab our tracked player controllers at index 0, arrow, current user input. And we could grab our current user's input state from this. But there's two things that we're going to have to do. So first of all, we need to make sure that we have access to our base player controller type. We forward declared the structure to the fuser input and the player controller in the header file, but that does not mean that the CPP file gets access to that. So in your source file here, we need to go up to the top and we need to have an include base player controller.h. And I'm going to space them out like this because we had an episode on how we're handling our includes. And I want to make sure that I'm following that. And I'm going to scroll back down here. And that means tracked player controllers at index 0 is something we can grab. So when you start typing arrow current user input, you'll see it here. And that's good enough. We can grab our current user input that way. But the second thing that we'll need to do is loop through both of the characters, or really all of the characters that are in our game that we're tracking. So everything in tracked player controllers, and then grab that current user input. We don't want to specifically grab a certain index because we want to know the states of all the players, all of their inputs. So now that we understand what we're doing, let's do for, and we can do a standard for loop here or a for each loop. I think a for each loop makes a lot of sense here. So for a base player controller pointer, and we'll call this base player controller : tracked player controllers, meaning for every player controller in this array. Then we can grab base player controller here. So the first time we loop through, this will be player 0. The next time we loop through, this will be player 1. And each time we can grab current user input. And that means we will be able to grab this data for each player controller. What we're trying to do with this is now set this data to the corresponding character or player on the current rollback frame data, this variable right here, as this is what we're going to be using to assign the data to rollback frame buffer at that frame. If we do current rollback frame data dot user inputs, remember this is an array, so we need to know which ID we're trying to put this value into here. We can't just assume index 0 because if we do this, this for each loop is going to loop through twice and overwrite the first one. What we could do is use base player controller arrow, and in here we could try and get our ID. There are some cool ways you can play around with this, like you could get a unique ID in here, but the problem with doing that is that this user inputs T array is something we're just adding to. So it's expecting an index of 0 and 1 right now. We have several options. Some of them I hinted at in the previous episode where I was talking about maps. We could convert the user inputs array to a map. That way we have to give the player controller a key, which is the ID of the player controller, and then those are tightly bound, which in this case is good because we want our ID of our player controller to be the only one that receives those inputs and stores those inputs. We could make a custom ID for our player controller and just make sure that it's always unique. Or we could assume 0 and 1 for now, or 0 plus however many characters we have in a tag match, and that is actually okay. If we had a lot of players jumping in and out and we didn't have a set amount of characters per round or per fight, that could be kind of sketchy. For this, it will actually work perfectly fine, and it is the quickest route to get us where we're going. Just keep in mind we have options. If we want to go that route, what we do is convert this for each loop to a regular for loop, just for int I equals 0, I is less than, tracked player controllers dot num plus plus I. Then in the for loop, we say current rollback frame data dot user inputs at index I equals tracked player controllers at index I arrow current user input. So index 0, or player 1, will store its inputs in index 0 of the current rollback frame data. Index 1, or player 2, will store its inputs in index 1 of the current rollback frame data. We are going to need to use IDs in the future for networking in general, and this is going to be something that's more apparent, and we'll have access to these. We don't have them right now, so I think this makes the most sense to stick with. But both methods will work depending on what you need. Regardless of all that, the important part is that we loop through all the player controllers and stored all of their inputs in the current rollback frame data. Because then when we call store snapshot, current rollback frame data has the input data for the players, which then stores that in the rollback frame buffer. So the next thing that we have to do is call store inputs prior to calling store snapshot. Or, like I was saying, we could call store inputs within store snapshot. And I think I like that one more because storing the snapshot to me is storing the entire state of the game. It's the inputs, it's the characters, it's what's going on in the world. And so when I call store snapshot, I want everything to be stored. So in store snapshot, I'm going to call store inputs, and I'll pass in the frame that is passed into store snapshot. And I'll just put the same comment in here that we put in the header file. So store inputs for all users for the current frame. There we go. Now we should be doing this correctly. When we retrieve the snapshot, we will need to pull the data out and assign it to the corresponding characters, but the way we set up the system pretty much automatically supports that. This current rollback frame data will have the user inputs and the character snapshots, and so we can just recreate the situation when rolling back. And that means there's not really a lot of work for us to do here. It will happen pretty naturally when we get to the episode on actually filling that data back in after a successful rollback. I do recommend removing this log from fixed tick at this point. This fixed tick performed successfully just because I keep re-enabling it for tests and then it consumes my entire log. We have other logs in our rollback simulation subsystem at this point, which can prove that it's working, at least to the extent that we need them to. And I think that's good enough. We created this store inputs function and we were setting something in current rollback frame data to it, but we never actually made sure that there's anything in this structure in the array that we're trying to access. We need to make sure that this array, this T array, is the expected size so that we can put things into it. If we were doing current rollback frame data.user_inputs.add, like this, then we could just pass in our current user input. But I don't really want to do that because I want to call this function and maintain a low number of indices in this array. So really what we want to do is just make sure that this current rollback frame data.user_inputs is resized or reserved to hold the number of tracked player controllers. The easiest way to do this is just to update our number of user inputs when we add a new player controller. So we have functions above for when we should start tracking a player controller and when we should stop tracking a player controller. So after removing or adding the player controller to the array, let's go below here, grab our current rollback frame data dot user inputs dot set num, and we'll add it to tracked player controllers dot num. So just resize this array to the new amount after modifying the track player controllers array. Resize the array of user inputs after resizing the array of tracked player controllers. And I'm actually going to say resize the container just in case we change this from an array in the future. And we want to do this in both track player controller and stop tracking player controller. Now the array should be able to hold the amount of data that we expect in store inputs, and we can assign those values. Let's try launching the game again. Now the editor is back open, so let's go ahead and launch. And you'll see that it works, at least it doesn't crash. We don't really have a way to test what we did in today's episode. You could log it out and test it out, press your inputs, see what's being captured. In fact, it's a good idea. The next episode is going to be all about that validation because we're going to need to start using it. So we'll find out quickly if it's working or not. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode in the fighting game tutorial series on Rollback Netcode. If you did, please subscribe and consider joining the Patreon, YouTube membership, or Discord subscriptions, and the merch shop. These are the easiest ways to help the channel, and it really means a lot to myself, and it lets me know that you're interested in this type of content so I can continue to make it. Thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed and donated to the channel. You're all fantastic. If you ran into any problems following this tutorial or any of my tutorials, feel free to join the Discord community. There is a link in the description. I would be happy to help you out. That support is completely free. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Shawnthebro, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.